Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
My name is Alex, and I live in a quaint suburban neighborhood. Life was pretty peaceful here until a new neighbor moved in next door. Her name was Elizabeth. But let me tell you, there was nothing quaint or peaceful about her. I was out in my backyard trying to fix a pesky leak in a garden hose when I heard a voice behind me. I turned around and saw Elizabeth looking like she was ready to pick a fight. "Hey there, what are you doing?" "Oh hi, I'm just trying to fix this leak in my hose." "You think you can just do whatever you want here, huh?" Well, I'm just trying to keep my yard nice." "Don't play dumb with me. I know what you're up to." I was genuinely puzzled at this point. What on earth was she talking about? I'm not sure I understand. What do you mean? "I heard from a neighbor that you've got an illegal switchblade in your house." I was taken aback. An illegal switchblade? In my house? I didn't even own one of those things. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't have any switchblades. "Oh please, don't act innocent with me. The neighbor saw it with their own eyes. I am calling the police." Before I could even react, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. I was flabbergasted. I tried to reason with her. "Wait a minute, Elizabeth. I don't have any switchblades. You must be mistaken." "Mistaken? I don't make mistakes, darling. The police will sort this out." Within 10 minutes, a police car arrived in our neighborhood, siren blaring. The officer stepped out and approached us. "What seems to be the problem here?" "Officer, I caught this guy red-handed with an illegal switchblade. You need to arrest him." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was about to get arrested for something I didn't even do. "Officer, I swear I don't have any switchblades. You must be mistaken." "Ma'am, do you have any evidence to support your claim?" Elizabeth, with an air of confidence, reached into her bag and pulled out a folded switchblade. My heart sank. How on earth did she get that? "Here it is, officer. The illegal weapon." "Alright, let me see it." The officer took the switchblade, carefully inspecting it, and he then turned to me. "Sir, do you have any proof that this isn't yours?" "Officer, I don't even own a switchblade. That's not even mine." "Well, ma'am, I'll need to take you in for questioning, and we will sort this out." Elizabeth looked shocked, and she didn't expect this turn of events. "What? You can't be serious." "I have to investigate this thoroughly, and making false accusations is a serious offense." He handcuffed her and escorted her to the police car, much to her dismay. "I can't believe this, officer. Thank you for looking into it." "Don't worry, sir. We will get to the bottom of this. Just be prepared to give your statement at the station." As the police car drove away, I was left standing there utterly bewildered. How had this escalated so quickly? I decided to head to the police station to clear my name. At the station, I gave my statement to another officer, detailing the entire incident. They examined the switchblade and checked it for fingerprints. Lo and behold, my fingerprints were nowhere on it. "Well, it seems you were telling the truth, sir. Your fingerprints aren't on this weapon, and it's likely not yours." I told the officer I had nothing to do with this. As they continued their investigation, they learned that the switchblade had been stolen from a nearby pawn shop just a week ago. It was clear that Elizabeth had planted it in my backyard to frame me. They also checked her criminal record and found that she had a history of making false accusations. With all the evidence against her, Elizabeth was arrested for filing a false police report, theft, and possession of a stolen weapon. She was in for quite the surprise when she expected to see me in handcuffs. A few weeks later, the court case began. I was called as a witness to testify against her, and it was quite the showdown in the courtroom. As the trial continued, it became evident that Elizabeth's lawyer was struggling to defend her. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and the jury didn't take long to reach a verdict. The jury foreperson stood up and announced that Elizabeth is guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to a year in jail for her crimes, and she had to pay restitution to the pawn shop for the stolen switchblade. This story happened about 15 years ago, give or take. At the time, I worked for a small industrial railroad in my city that served about 20 different industries along the docks. To get to the docks from the yard where I would pick up the inbound deliveries to the industries, cars We had a mile of street trackage that ran right down the middle of a small street. Numerous bars lined the street on one side with a river on the other side. Because of city regulations, we were only allowed to operate along that span of track between specific hours, typically 11 at night to about 5 in the morning. However, since the bars were open at that time, it also meant that we had to trundle along at a crawl, usually walking pace or just about that, and keep the locomotive on the front end of the movement. Every night I went down that street, there would typically be 2 or 3 people who had parked too close to the tracks, prompting me to have to get people to move their cars. It wasn't a major problem, just an annoyance. Except for one guy. It seemed that every single night I would have to stop about halfway down because this guy would always park his truck at an angle in the street, as opposed to parallel parking. There were some angle parking spaces, but they were further down where there wasn't trails in the road. Every single night I'd have to head into the bar this guy owned and bug the guy to get him to move the truck. Most of the time, it would take him a good 30 minutes to an hour to drag himself out and move the thing. This meant, of course, I was losing time that I needed to get my job done. After months of this, I finally decided that I'd had enough, so I decided to have the guy towed. Yeah, that didn't work out as well as I hoped. Turned out that the guy also had some job with a city or the mayor's office or some friend in either, so no one would dare come out and tow his truck. I think I waited there a good hour before he eventually came out and moved it, even having the gal to flip me the bird as he left. At that point, I decided that not only was I totally done with this guy, but if the chance arose, I was going to teach him a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. Nothing physical per se, just a hard-learned lesson. Couple days later, I found myself heading down the track with half a dozen heavy cars with machinery bound for the docks. As I rounded the curve and neared the place where that guy always parked, I gently applied the independent brakes on a locomotive. This would slow the heavy train but wasn't enough to stop it outright. At least, not quickly. I waited until the very last minute, laying on a horn and applying the full brakes, bringing everything to a screeching halt in the middle of the street. As I felt the brakes begin to hold, there was a loud thunk and screeching and tearing of metal as the train simply punted the truck out of the way, tearing the bit clean off it in the process. This did not go unnoticed, as a crowd had started to gather out front of the bar when they heard the train coming. I stayed in the cab, calling back to dispatch and informed them that I'd struck a parked car and they needed to get the police and a tow truck out to my location. All the while, I could hear this guy screaming, heard them over the sound of the locomotive no less, at the top of his lungs, about how he was going to have me thrown in jail, sue the company, and all manner of things. Locking the doors, I opted to just wait in the cab for the boys in blue to arrive. Eventually, they pop around and start taking statements. I explained the problem, noting that I couldn't, well, I could have, but it wouldn't have been a good idea, simply slam the brakes due to the cargo I was carrying, and that the only reason I hit the truck was because it was improperly parked. I added that the gentleman had been warned in the past that something like this could happen and had ignored the warnings. The man for his part was simply livid, hopping around, yelling at me, yelling at the cops, and just beside himself. In the end, he was ticketed for his bad parking, obstructing the passage of a train, and his truck was totaled. And he ended up on the hook for paying for it. The truck was brand new and not yet paid off, or so I was told. It took about 2 hours to clean up the mess, and I was, per company rules, suspended for a week during the company investigation. But honestly, it was worth it. Didn't have any problems with him from that point forward either. For some context, I work at a pretty popular grocery store in the Midwest that's based out of Iowa. Now, when I say popular, I mean popular. The town I live in voted this grocery store as the best grocery store in the county for the 3rd year in a row. And this store opened in 2015. My uniform consists of a ripped polo with a company name, embroidered in white, black dress pants, and black shoes. Now to the story. This happened last night and I had just gotten off work. Was still in my work uniform on my way home when I realized I forgot to get groceries after I clocked out. Instead of turning around to go back to the store, I decided to stop by Walmart since it was on my way back to my apartment and I only needed two things. I go into Walmart pretty tired from my 9-hour shift. I work in a floral department and since it's coming home season, I spent my entire shift wrapping flowers and making corsages and all that fun stuff. It was very busy that day. And I went to look for some bread to make French toast in the morning. I'm standing in front of the bakery looking for the right type of bread for a few minutes when I felt a tap on my shoulder and someone sighing heavily. When I turned around, I saw her, Karen. She had the haircut, the makeup, and everything. I asked, "Can I help you?" "I've been standing here for minutes waiting for you to help me, and you're just looking at bread. You are terrible at your job. Now help me find the toilet paper." "Ma'am, I don't work here. I work at a different store down the road. I'm just a customer here." She pauses for a second and looks at my shirt before huffing in my direction. "You're lying. That store would never have someone like you working for them. Take me to the toilet paper now." At this point, I'm starting to lose my patience. It's been a long day and I really didn't want to deal with her attitude. "Ma'am, if I did work here, why would I be wearing the uniform of their #1 competitor in town? You can get away with being a piece of lazy trash at work, but I won't stand for that. I am getting your manager." Whatever. Karen storms off with her cart and I carry on with my shopping. I grab the bread I need and a gallon of milk. I'm about to go to a checkout lane when I see Karen coming barreling toward me with a manager in tow. "Her. This is a worker who's been very rude and isn't doing her job. Fire her." The manager gives me a confused look, noticing my polo that has a company name of the store I work at. "Ma'am, this girl doesn't work here. I've never seen her before and I know all the workers of my night crew. And it's pretty obvious that she doesn't work here considering she has a polo for another grocery store." "You both are liars. Is this how you treat your paying customers? I'm never shopping here again." The wild Karen storms off and the manager apologizes to me for the trouble and ends up giving my 2 groceries to me for free, considering what just happened. The only reason I'm posting this now is because this morning before I went to my college classes, I stopped by my store to cash a check at customer service and I told my coworker about this story. The best part about this story? Well, I had a feeling in my guts and asked to see the list of banned customers for our store. And guess whose picture was at the top of the list? Karen. Apparently, there were 3 recorded times where she left carts of frozen or cold products in front of the restaurant connected to the store, containing hundreds of dollars worth of product for hours, and then just left the store without paying for it. I'm talking about expensive steaks, crab legs, lobster, large cheesecakes, milk, and so on. All of this product had to be thrown away because it was no longer safe for consumption. After the 3rd time of this happening, she was banned from my store. I guess I'm lucky. Even though she knows where I work, she can't legally enter my store. Someone asked if we informed Walmart about what had happened in the past with Karen, and the answer is yes. After I told my coworker the story of what happened at Walmart and said that it was in fact Karen, she made a call to the same Walmart to tell them what happened. I wasn't around for the phone call since I had to leave for a class, but I'm guessing she will also be banned from that store as well. Some of you suggest that she was going to dumpster dive afterwards to get the groceries that we had to throw away. This will be impossible as the trash chute is sealed off and can only be opened with a key on garbage day through the garbage trucks. Same goes with a cardboard compactor. I'm 30 male and my wife 25 is pregnant with our first child. Her parents moved to Canada in July. It had stressed her out so much because she's very close to her family, but it got way better when we got to know of her pregnancy. Recently, I've been really busy with work, but I always make sure to spend as much time with her as possible. Things went really smoothly for the entire first trimester. After the second trimester started, her anxiety is higher than ever. She tells me that she feels weird and very uneasy at the thought of veins and blood vessels of our baby growing inside of her. She sees veins and blood vessels when she closes her eyes, and it makes her really sick. She also has been puking a lot lately, and she always says that when she pukes hard, she thinks the baby will suffocate inside of her, and when she tries to sleep, she's always afraid that she will roll onto her stomach and the baby will explode. Things are fine physically. We've had 2 checkups done in the last 10 days. I told her to take it easy and try to relax her mind. Divert it with shopping or something. I also tried really hard to spend more time with her, but my busy schedule is not allowing that and I'm trying to get things done. So when the baby arrives, I can stay home to look after them both. She has also been telling me every day that she really misses her parents and she feels very lonely. Every day I go home and she has the same things to say. I am not complaining, but sometimes I'm really exhausted after a long day and just want to rest a bit. Recently, I had a really rough day and when I got home, she was upset that I'm late and started to complain about how I'm being so insensitive when I know how lonely she already feels and still don't try enough to be there for her. We got into an argument. It was our first argument in months and things got heated. I ended up telling her that she needs to stop whining and being paranoid all the time. And if she really misses her parents this much, she can go see them in Canada. She told me that she actually would if her doctor had not restricted her from traveling until delivery, and she's so sorry for bothering me so much. I knew right there that I messed up big time, so I apologized immediately, but things haven't been the same since. She's distant and quiet now, and I feel so awful. Maybe I was too harsh and I could do a lot better in that situation or just keep my mouth shut. Am I the jerk? And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, psychiatrist here, I will not play around with judgment because of the seriousness of this. Get her to the doctor. This level of symptoms needs medical attention, not a trip to the mall. Do not downplay how serious this anxiety is. The jump from anxiety to paranoia and then to impaired reality testing, psychosis, is very much a risk, and early intervention makes a safety risk much easier to mitigate. Her health and the health of your developing child depend on it. Another commenter adds, being freaked out over veins and blood vessels, suffocating/exploding the baby and being that anxious and paranoid all the time is just not normal. You need to go with her to her next appointment. Call and get a sooner one if it's not already close. And talk to her doctor. This will likely only get worse and could easily blow up in postpartum psychosis when she has a baby and gets sleep deprived. You're the jerk for telling her to stop whining. Get off Reddit and make that appointment. A third commenter goes with, quote, I knew right there that I messed up big time. So you already know that you're the jerk here. Honestly, maybe this is an unwanted opinion, but this behavior is not normal. Her anxiety and emotions seem higher than normal pregnancy behavior. Woman here, has she/you talked to her doctor about this? If unaddressed, I don't know what could happen postpartum. A fourth commenter seals it with, you are the jerk. I can understand that things seem absurd and you're stressed with all sorts of factors, but you were unnecessarily callous to your wife. I personally think she needs to see some sort of therapist. I don't know if there is something directly related to pregnancy/baby things, but she could use some serious counseling and reassurances from a professional to soothe her extra anxiety. It's reasonable to be anxious, especially since it's first time. But the things you describe also sound similar to a hypochondriac. Besides therapy and counseling, maybe see if her mother could schedule a visit to her. Maybe see how she feels about having someone like a midwife or doula around, to talk and bond with to support her through the pregnancy. Update from OP. I have booked an appointment with a therapist. We are going tomorrow. I know I already should have done that a couple of weeks ago and feel terrible for not doing so. I really appreciate all the comments. I really needed to hear this all in order to realize how seriously my wife is suffering, and I was so blind to it. I have a lot of making up to do, but first I need to get her the medical help she needs. And about getting her mom to visit, it's not possible for some reasons. Not for a few more months at least. And we have no other family near us that can visit, so I will try my best to stay home with her as much as I can.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.